Hi, my name is Daniel's son, Yuan. I guess you could say I'm a beat maker, producer. I like a lot of fields of art. My father is from Shanghai, and my mother was actually born in a village all the way to the west of China. They both met through university, through graphic design work. So they decided to move. I think it was because there's like a lot of complications with my whole family line in China. My great-grandfather, a close comrade and essentially second command with the main commander. Just from that, just all the horror, all the, intensity of the war is kind of like being pushed upon generation by generation. So I think that's what convinced the move. So I would say career-wise, I did kind of grow up in an environment where I have to kind of aim for like high scores and all that sort of stuff to really go for like the A+ and all that, and to get a successful job. I think one thing, I think it's for all Asian parents is, they want us to have a stable future. I don't know, maybe I'm just talking shit here, but like, I feel like maybe compared to like Western culture, there wasn't a push for like greatness. It just felt like, just be stable, just have a sustaining life. So I guess I first started off, if I were to go back to the very basics, start off as a DJ, playing to like maybe 2-3 people max or some shit like that. From there, I started like developing a love for music. I wasn't really into music that much at first, and then I started listening to hip hop, Wu-Tang Clan especially. They were like my very first sort of like group of people who really introduced me into music that I loved. And I think if I were to go back to Asian heritage and all that, I think what really drove me towards them was it was essentially a bunch of dudes from Brooklyn, New York and all that, Staten Island, and they're like rapping with Shaolin influence and all that sort of stuff. I started producing because I started like listening to the same music over and over again because I loved it so much, and I was like, okay, maybe I can make like a little edit of this. Then from there, I started like producing my own stuff. I think one big thing was I definitely shied away from embracing my heritage and culture career-wise, because I think if I were to go into the idea of why I switched my profile from having my face over my music to just being a logo, it wasn't really much of a being ashamed of myself. It was actually more of the idea that it's more of like a business tool, if that makes sense. At first, I wanted people to associate that, there's an Asian dude making these beats, but now not so much, is because I felt like that people will have previous sort of representation of an Asian person, and then they'll have that mentality and bring it to the music instead of hearing the music first and then understanding more about the personality of the musician. I definitely felt very different, not like that sort of cool different though, that like, oh, this guy's like out of the box sort of thing. It kind of felt more like, oh, there's an Asian dude trying to do this, sort of feel like, oh man, like what is he doing here? How does he end up here? Like, aren't they supposed to be like studying or some shit like that, This warehouse right here is essentially one of the big moves that I've tried to make with a bunch of mates of mine. So we're all like, sharing the rent of this place, and we're just using it just for our own production purposes. And I don't know if you see over there, we have a studio, and we're gonna be like using that as kind of like our base of operations when it comes down to podcasting, when it comes down to recording artists, as well as assisting them as well into creating their goals and making their goals come to life as well. It's still very in its early stages. We've been here for several months now. We're kind of like just figuring out the, ins and outs. So we're still like trying to get our head around, you know, sustaining and like kind of like developing a balance to keep this alive. So I think if I were to kind of like, you know, pitch this place, is like it's a place for people to start, you know, you just come by and try and like help us out so we can help you. It's just like that positive reinforcement of motivational artistic energy. When internet came about, I started really getting into like the whole concept of like Shaolin, the whole concept of, you know, chi, energy and all that. For me, it really resonated. I think one is because, you know, it was Eastern to me. It was like, this Eastern philosophy, this Eastern mindset. It felt alien, but at the same time, very familiar. If I were to compare it to what I see the philosophy around nowadays is, everyone wants to be happy. Everyone wants to, you know, oh, you gotta be happy, you gotta be confident, you gotta be this and that, this and that. And from what I've learned is, my philosophy is, it's simply you gotta have balance. Happy is just one spectrum, one side of the scale. I believe you shouldn't be happy in life. You should be happy yet angry or sad at the same time. You should maintain a balance, because being happy is good, obviously. But, you know, being happy all the time, being happy too often, it can lead to overconfidence. It can also, there's such thing as being too nice. I think one big lesson I've learned as a kid, especially, you know, I would say us Asians are very sort of, in a sense, timid and in a sense generous. I've noticed, especially growing around a Western sort of culture, being nice was a disadvantage because I felt really taken advantage of. I felt used and all that, so yeah. When I was born, my great-grandfather, he named me An, which means peace. So I think what he wanted from me was, you know, a new start for the family. I was to be that symbol of peace for the family after going through so much, you know, sort of war and horror and all that.